Good morning or good afternoon wherever you are, and welcome to today's 30-minute flow with Lara. So I'm going to start class in child's pose, taking the soles of the feet together, the knees nice and wide, and slowly lowering the chest down towards the floor, spreading the hands out in front of us, and gently taking the weight into the arms, starting to deepen the breath, if we can, inhaling and exhaling through the nose. Feeling the breath expand through the back of the body, and the chest gently lift and rise with the breath. And walking the hands over towards the left hand side of the mat, drawing the right hand ever so slightly further forward, stretching out through the right hand side of the back. Still breathing nice and deeply. Then from here, walking the hands across to the right hand side of the mat, taking the left hand slightly in front of the right, drawing the head down, stretching out across the left shoulder, all the way down the left hand side of the back. Then from here, coming through to tabletop, taking the hands and knees to the pointer markers on the mat, slowly rolling up through the spine to our cat and rolling back down, gazing towards the front of the room. So moving between our cat where we arch the back, and then slowly rippling through, drawing the chest forward and creating a valley. In your own time with the breath, moving between these two positions, just starting to get a bit of fluid movement going through the spine. Slowly coming back to a neutral spine, and then lifting the left hand up towards the ceiling, taking the arm underneath, going to our thread the needle position, resting the shoulder on the mat. Option to extend the right leg, pressing into the heels, straightening through the legs, and stretching out through the right calf. Gently drawing the right knee down, extending the left hand back up towards the ceiling, and then placing it back on the mat. Coming over to the right hand side, lifting the fingers up nice and high, and then threading the arm underneath. Option to extend the left leg, pressing into the heel, keeping the toes tucked to the ground, stretching through the calf on the other side. Again, just trying to stay aware of the breath, filling the lungs with each inhale and exhale. Drawing the left knee back down, and then taking the right hand back up towards the ceiling, extending the hand and placing it back on the mat. From here, we'll extend the right leg, press into the heel, and extend and lift through the left hand, coming nice and long across the diagonal of the body. Flexing the heel and pointing the toes on the foot, just working into a little bit of ankle mobility. And then drawing the knee in to meet the elbow, rounding through the back and extending back out. Again, flexing the foot, pointing the toe. Drawing in one more time, and then gently setting the hand and the knee down, coming over to the other side, extending and lifting the left leg, pointing the toe, flexing the heel, and of course extending the right arm as well. Coming back, drawing in, rounding through the back and extending back out again. Pointing through the toe, flexing the heel, one more round. And then gently drawing back into center again, placing the right hand on the mat and the left knee, and from here tucking the toes and making our way back to our first downward facing dog. Slowly pedaling out through the feet, lifting one heel then the other, just getting some movement flowing through the body, whatever feels good for you. Maybe twisting the knees in, and then slowly walking the feet towards the hands, finding our way to our first forward fold, keeping the knees nice and bent, we're not very warm yet, and maybe taking ragdoll, hands hold opposite elbows, gently rocking left and right. Taking the hands back down towards the mat, slowly rolling up through the spine, stacking the shoulders, circling the arms nice and wide, drawing the hands in towards prayer. Slowly folding back forward, taking the hands back down towards the feet and stepping back to our downward facing dog. Pressing into the hands, lifting the hips towards the ceiling and then slowly walking the hands back towards the feet. Taking a ragdoll at the other end of the mat, gently rocking left and right, perhaps taking the opposite hand on top this time. Lifting the hips towards the sky. And then slowly taking the hands back down towards the mat, rolling up through the spine, stacking the shoulders, circling the arms up overhead. Drawing the hands through to prayer, and then from here folding forward one more time. Walking the hands back out to our downward facing dog, lifting the hips up nice and high, perhaps stepping the feet in a little bit closer. Then walking the feet all the way to the hands, coming back to a forward fold. Option to take hold of a block and rest the hands on the block if you can't quite reach the floor here. Alternatively, taking the hands to the floor and slowly rolling up through the spine, circling the arms nice and wide up overhead. Drawing the hands through center, folding forward one more time. Coming to a halfway lift, straightening out through the back. And then taking the hands back down and slowly stepping back to our plank, drawing the body straight, pressing into the heels. Lowering the knees down, taking the chest to the floor. Hands in line with the shoulders, inhaling, lifting to our cobra. Exhaling, lowering down, tucking the toes, pressing back through our child's pose. And all the way back to downward facing dog. In downward facing dog, on the next inhale, lifting the left leg up towards the ceiling and stepping the foot through all the way to the top of the mat. Drawing the right knee down, taking the arms up overhead to our crescent moon lunge. Sinking into the right hip flexor, maybe stepping the left foot forward a little bit further if you can't feel the stretch here. Extending through the fingers or perhaps resting the hand on the front knee. Keeping the chest nice and lifted, drawing the shoulders back, breathing nice and deeply. Taking the hands back overhead and then twisting towards the left. Taking the right elbow to the outside of the left knee. Gazing towards the shoulder, drawing the spine nice and straight. And then turning back towards the front of the mat, arms come up overhead, hands frame the front foot, stepping back to our plank, drawing the knees down, lowering the chest all the way to the floor. Hands come in line with the shoulders, inhaling, lifting the chest through to cobra, exhaling, lowering back down, and pressing back to our child's pose before returning to downward facing dog. On the next inhale, I'm going to slowly lift the right leg, press the heel towards the ceiling, and then step through to the top of the mat. Drawing the left knee down, taking the arms up overhead, extending through the fingers, finding our modified crescent moon lunge on the other side. And then, of course, option to take the hands to rest on the front knee, as I am now demonstrating. And from here, taking the hands back overhead, drawing the hands into prayer again and twisting towards the right. So the left elbow comes to the outside of the right knee and we're gazing towards the right elbow or towards the right shoulder. On the inhale, growing nice and long through the spine. On the exhale, twisting a bit deeper. Then turning back round to the front of the mat, taking the arms overhead, hands frame the front foot, stepping back to our plank, lowering the knees down, taking the chest to the floor, hands in line with the shoulders, inhaling, lifting to cobra, really drawing the chest through now. Exhaling, lowering down, and then taking the hands in line with the shoulders and inhaling, lifting to our locust. So this time we're still lifting the chest, nice and high, and gently placing the hands back down. From here, lifting one more time to our cobra, pressing into the hands, trying to cultivate that same lift as from locust, and then press a little bit higher, lowering back down, and finding our way back to child's pose, and then into downward facing dog. Pressing into the heels, lifting the hips nice and high, and then lifting the left leg, this time option to bend the top leg, drawing the left heel to the bum, lifting the left knee up towards the sky, opening through the left hip. Then stepping the left foot through to the top of the mat, coming into our warrior two. So the front foot is along the center line of the mat and the back foot is on the cross section at the back on one of the two back foot lines. Hands out to either side down the center line, gazing over the front hand. Turning the front palm, reversing our warrior, taking the left arm up overhead. And then coming to our extended side down angle, the left arm rests on the front knee, the right arm comes up overhead. Option to gaze towards the top hand or down towards the front foot, yogi's choice. Pressing into the outside edge of the back foot to help us gain strength and stability here. Finding our way back to warrior two, rebending the front leg. And then from here, taking the hands to frame the front foot, stepping back to our plank. Pressing into the heels, this time option to take a full chaturanga, lowering to 90, rolling through to upward facing dog, and exhaling back to downward facing dog. On the inhale, lifting the right leg, drawing the heel towards the bum, lifting the right knee up towards the sky, and then stepping the right foot through to the top of the mat and twisting and opening to warrior two on the other side, deeply bending the front leg, and trying to make sure both hips are facing towards the sides of the mat here. Taking the arms nice and wide, gazing over the front hand, and then turning the front palm, reversing our warrior, right arm comes up overhead. And then placing the right arm on the inside of the front leg, extending the left arm up overhead. You have an option to gaze at the hand or down towards the front foot. Trying to cultivate a sense of lift here, so we're not collapsing over the front leg, but more energizing down the center line of the body. Finding our way back to warrior two, and then taking the hands to frame the front foot. And taking a vinyasa of your choice. So remember, it's always an option to lower the knees down, take the chest to the floor, roll through to cobra, and exhale back to our downward facing dog. Yogi's choice. Really pressing nice and deeply into our downward facing dog now. And then option to take the right hand through to the outside of the left leg, coming into a twist. Trying to keep a slight bend in the supporting arm, and then switching over sides. So left hand comes to the outside of the right leg, twisting and gazing underneath the right side of the body. Option to hold a little bit higher up towards the hip if that makes it easier. Coming back to our downward facing dog, and then from here lifting the left leg. Again, option to bend and open through the top leg. Stepping the left foot through to the top of the mat, opening back up to our warrior two. Making sure the front heel is roughly in line with the center of the arch of the back foot. And then from here, option to come to a half bind, taking the right arm behind the back. You can either rest on the center of the back or come all the way through to the inside of the front hip. Then we're going to turn the front palm, reverse our warrior. And then take the left arm to rest on the inside of the front leg, trying to draw open the right shoulder, going into a little bit into our internal shoulder rotation. Gazing over the right shoulder, and then taking the arm back overhead, coming to our full extended side angle. Finding our way to triangle, so we're just going to shorten our stance, keeping both feet facing the same direction. Trying not to fold forward or backwards here, so imagining we're between two planes of glass, trying to stack the right shoulder over the left. Finding our way back to warrior two, and then taking the hands to frame the front foot, stepping back to our plank. Remember, always an option to lower the knees down, and take the chest to the floor and come through to our cobra, meeting back in our downward facing dog. On the inhale, lifting the right leg, an option to bend the top leg again and step through to the top of the mat, circling the arms nice and wide, coming to our warrior two one more time. Making sure we're not leaning forward here, so imagine someone's holding your back hand, drawing the torso nice and straight. Again, option to find a half bind, drawing the right hand behind the back, either resting it in the center of the back or taking it through to the inside of the front hip. Reversing the warrior, and then taking the left hand to rest on the inside of the front leg. The right arm can come up overhead, remember, as an option if you don't like holding the half bind. Equally, option to stay a little bit longer in the half bind if that suits your practice. And extending the arm back overhead and finding your way to triangle, so both legs are straight in triangle. The right hand comes down and rests on the inside of the front leg. The left arm comes up towards the ceiling, so we're opening through the top side of the left hip. Option also to use a block here if that feels more comfortable for you. Use any side of the block as suits you. Gently stepping back to our warrior two, taking the arms nice and wide. And then from here, taking the hands to frame the front foot, stepping back to our plank. Again, option to lower the knees down, take the chest to the floor, hands in line with the shoulders, inhaling, lifting to cobra, drawing the chest through. Exhaling, lowering down. Coming briefly back to our child's pose and pressing back to our downward facing dog. From downward facing dog, this time walking the feet forward to the top of the mat, coming to our malasana. So malasana is our yogi squat. If you want, you can turn to the side and use the placement markers at 45 degrees to help you find your foot position. Option to also sit on a block to make the pose a little bit easier, trying to draw the upper body nice and straight. So we want to lift the chest and try and sit down in a nice vertical line, not leaning forward too much. Taking the hands to prayer. Remember, you can always try the full squat, or if not, come to goddess squats. We just go up a little bit higher, resting our hands just above the knees, taking the feet a bit wider in the stance. Wherever we are, option to take the hands overhead. So if you're still in Malasana, try this too. Sinking down if we can, then drawing the hands to prayer, straightening up through the legs, going back to the top of the mat, circling the arms overhead. And this time finding chair. So in chair we're sinking down, lifting the chest, turning the arms in to face the center of the mat, and then folding forward. Drawing the left leg behind the right in our forward fold. Again, option to take hold of a block if you can't quite reach the floor, and just rest the hands on the block instead. So just getting a little bit of a deeper stretch through the left hip here. Option also to take the hands behind and rest on the calf, or the hands down towards the floor. And from here, finding our forward fold again, coming back to standing, and then back to our Malasana. So option to stay at the top of the mat. You can also do this in goddess squat. We're going to take the left hand down towards the floor. Extend the right hand up towards the ceiling. So for in goddess squat, we can just keep the left hand on just above the knee, and the right hand comes up towards the ceiling. Switching over sides, so the right hand comes down, the left arm up towards the ceiling, and then finding our way back to standing. Circling the arms back overhead, and then sinking the bum down into our chest, keeping the chest nice and lifted, the hands are facing in. Imagining we're coming to sit on a chair, and then taking the hands to prayer, folding forward one more time. This time the right leg comes behind the left, so we can get just a little bit deeper into the right hamstring, around the right hip here. Again, always option to hold the block or take the hands to the floor or to the back of the calf. Yogi's choice. Trying to draw the shoulders down, letting the back feel nice and long and heavy. Breathing nice and deeply here. And then slowly stepping back to our forward fold. On the inhale, we're coming to our halfway lift, straightening through the back. On the exhale, stepping back to our plank. Drawing the body nice and straight, then lowering the knees to the floor, taking the chest down, hands in line with the shoulders, inhaling, lifting to cobra, drawing the chest through, exhaling, lowering down, tucking the toes, pressing back to our child's pose, and then all the way back to downward facing dog, really tucking the heels underneath us, now lifting the hips towards the sky, and slowly walking the feet forward and coming to sit on our mat. Then come into a forward fold now, so extending the legs out in front of us, taking the arms up overhead, reaching through the fingers, and then gently folding forward. So hands can rest on the outside of the calf, so we're going to keep the chest lifted for now, the back quite straight, or maybe taking the hands round to the outside edges of the feet. Gazing forward, then option to round through the back, drawing the chin in towards the chest, just getting a little bit of opening across the tops of the shoulders. Really reconnecting with the breath now if we've lost track of that. And then slowly coming out of our forward fold, drawing the soles of the feet together, coming to our bound angle pose, gently rocking left and right, lifting through the chest. Option to fold down and either take the hands out in front of us, or if you want, you can rest the elbows onto the inside of the calf muscles and just use them to press the legs down. Again, option to round through the back. And then slowly walking the hands back in. Extending the legs out in front of us. We're going to lie on our backs. We're going to take a few rounds of bridge now. So we want to take the feet to be about hand and wrist distance away from the bum. On the inhale, slowly lifting the hips, rolling up through the spine, stacking the shoulders underneath us, interlacing the fingers, lifting the chest and the hips towards the ceiling. So lots of energy pressing forward, pressing into the heels. And then slowly lowering back down. So we're going to release the hands, Untuck the shoulders and roll back down, gently rocking left and right, letting the knees come side to side. And then preparing for another round of bridge, slowly rolling up through the spine, stacking the shoulders underneath us, interlacing the fingers again, lifting the chest, lifting the hips. Option this time to perhaps come to the tiptoes, so we can lift onto the tops of the feet. And if we're doing this, just lifting the hips a little bit higher for those final breaths. Really pressing through the chest and then slowly lowering back down, separating the shoulders, releasing the hands, coming to lie on our backs. From here, coming into a few little rounds of knee circles, so drawing the knees together and then out towards the sides. So each knee's on its own little circle here. And then reversing the direction, trying to work into our full range of hip motion here. Slowly rounding into a tight little ball, squeezing the head towards the knees and gently releasing back down. From here we're going to come to our recline pigeon, taking the left foot to the outside of the right knee. Then hands can come through to rest on the back of the hamstring or all the way through to the front of the shin. Relaxing the shoulders into the mat and squeezing the right knee towards us. Option to give the ankles a little bit of a circle here. Just getting some motion going there. And then reversing the direction of those circles. And then gently relaxing the leg back down. Switching over sides so the outside of the left ankle rests on the back of the right knee. Option again to hold behind the hamstring all the way through to the front of the shin. Relaxing the shoulders into the mat and gently giving the feet a bit of a wiggle again. Trying to draw some circles. And reversing the direction too. Breathing nice and deeply in and out through the nose here. Slowly releasing the legs back down. And then finding our way to happy baby, so the arms come to the insides of the knees and catch hold of the outside of the feet. Lifting the heels up towards the sky, and if it feels good, gently rocking left and right here. Drawing the shoulders down towards the mat. Slowly drawing the feet back together, drawing the knees into center, slowly rocking up to seated. And from here we did come into our frog pose. So you're going to want to face the sides of your mat. Draw the knees right to the edge so that you can get the feet on behind you. I'm going to take the feet slightly wider than the knees and come to the inside edge of the feet. If you can come down to the forearms, again we can use a block to help us here. We can stay on the hands. I'm going to gently press back into our hips. It is quite an intense pose, so just coming as deep as feels comfortable and not trying to push too far. It's a great hip opener. So the longer you can try and stay here for, over time will really help to loosen up tight hips, glutes, and may even help with lower back pain. Breathing nice and deeply, trying to relax any tension in the feet and the shoulders, and slowly drawing the feet together, drawing the knees together, finding our way back out of the pose, coming back to seated and coming into a twist. So taking the right foot to rest on the outside of the left knee, left hand comes around to hold the outside edge of the right knee, engaging over the right shoulder. On the inhale, growing tall, on the exhale, twisting deeper. So I'm going to twist round just to show you from a different angle. Still twisting towards the right. Slowly coming back through center, switching over sides. So this time the right leg comes underneath, the left leg on top. And the right hand comes around to the outside of the left knee. We're gazing over the left shoulder here. On the inhale, growing taller, and on the exhale, seeing if we can twist a little deeper. Slowly coming back through center one more time. Into an easy cross-legged position to finish off class. Taking the palms to face up. Rocking left and right in our seat, growing nice and tall, rolling the shoulders up, back and down. Bringing right out through the crown of the head. On the inhale, letting the chest lift as the lungs fill with air. On the exhale, relaxing into our seat. Just taking a moment to reconnect the mind and the body together, preparing ourselves for the next stage in our day. And then drawing the hands to prayer and gently bowing the head. Namaste.